There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on the Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt like you're searching for something that's just out of reach? Maybe you've walked under a sky scattered with stars, feeling tiny and huge all at once. Sense that there might be more to you, more to this moment, more beyond what you can see or touch. That's exactly what St. Francis once felt too. You might know his name. Maybe you've heard that he talked to birds or lived simply. But tonight, under this soft canopy of night, we're going to learn who he really was as someone who started out lost, full of longing, craving meaning. A regular person with doubts and daydreams, before all the stories carved him out of stone, before he was anyone's quiet icon, he was just a boy, standing in the dark, breathing with the world as it breathed with him. Here, right now, the world drops away. It's just you, your gentle breath, and one quiet life, not to be remembered, but to be felt. Maybe there was a moment much younger when you wished for your life to matter, or times recent or long ago when the world felt too loud and you didn't know where silence had gone. For nights like that, for hearts like yours, this story opens slow and sure. Every part of St. Francis' journey began with that same yearning, the longing to find something inside himself that would feel like coming home. He wasn't always at peace. His feet stumbled, his voice wavered. Peace wasn't a thing he had, it was a thing he kept returning to, one breath at a time, like a simple secret shared between him and the stars above him. As you listen tonight, you might find pieces of your own restlessness mirrored back. You'll walk with him as he learns to see the world through new eyes, eyes that don't just look, but recognize the sacred in what's simple: grass, air, strangers, and old friends. His story isn't really about wild miracles or huge crowds. It's about the slow, steady practice of living gently, listening, and letting his spirit move as quietly as the breeze. You don't have to believe in anything, except maybe the possibility of feeling a little more at home inside your own life. That's all St. Francis ever really wanted too. So, tonight, just listen. Let go of the day's noise. Let your breath fall in and out. You don't need to learn or remember or achieve. Just be. This gentle journey is yours not to finish, but to feel step by step until the sky lifts and something quiet shifts inside you. We begin together under the stars. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on the Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt the ache of wanting to touch the world in a gentle way? Maybe you've woken at night, listening to the silence outside, wishing the world would reveal its softness again. Or maybe you've wondered somewhere inside if your life could move with more wonder, more ease, less noise. That's exactly what St. Francis under the Stars, a tale of gentle nature, once felt too. His story begins in the quiet longing you and I both know, the kind that isn't loud but steady, the longing for simplicity, for kindness, for something honest and alive in a world that can feel heavy and rushed. As you listen tonight, let yourself rest. There's no rush, no expectation here. This is a space to be with your own breath, to let go, and to let the story unravel softly, not as a lesson, but as an invitation. Together, we'll step into a world that honors tenderness, where even the smallest acts matter and the gentlest hearts leave the deepest marks. Sometimes, the most radical thing we can do is pause and notice the way light settles on a leaf or the way your own chest rises and falls. This is the movement that St. Francis found, a way of seeing, a way of being that shifts everything inside and around us. As you drift here, under the quiet of your room, imagine the soft hush of nature at the edges, the echo of footsteps on early morning grass, the chorus of birdsong just before sunrise, the honest company of animals and earth. You are not alone here. This story keeps you company, holds you gently, so let your breath slow. Let your thoughts wander. You are exactly where you need to be, returning in each moment to the heart of what matters, not as a dream, but as a sacred remembering, one you carry all the way into sleep. Just as St. Francis once did, let this gentle journey speak to the quietness inside you. Invite it closer. Let this be your sacred pause, the beginning not of a story from the past, but of a waking up softly to your own peace. As we move forward together, let's listen for the hush beneath every word, the stillness that waits in every breath. This is soul time, and this is your invitation to walk, just tonight, with St. Francis under the stars. There are stories that change your mind, and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something more, something gentler than what the world pushes your way? Maybe there was a time when you stood in a patch of sunlight or felt the hush of twilight on your face, and a question, soft as moss, crept across your chest. Is there a way to belong that doesn't ask you to hurry, to force, to pretend? That's exactly what St. Francis once felt too. You might know him as a saint, as a man for the birds and beasts, but tonight we lay all the titles down. We let the story lead us, not with halos, not with stained glass windows, but with bare feet on cool earth. Beneath the stars above Assisi, there once breathed a young man who watched winds carry prayers further than cathedrals, who wondered if kindness could take root in the body, just as sunlight roots itself in wild flowers. Tonight you'll meet him in the tenderness of his longing, in the hush before answers, in the night when restlessness became a new kind of dreaming. Take a slow breath here. Let the quiet settle around you. You don't have to believe in holiness or have a perfect faith. You just need a heart that aches for gentleness to move through this world as if every petal matters. That's all you need to enter this story. As you listen, perhaps you'll remember a time when you felt the earth speak to you. Not in words, but in the hush of early morning light through a window, or the silent knowing that comes when you're cradled by dusk. That is the door. That is where St. Francis still walks, and if you like, you can walk with him tonight. There will be struggle, yes, and also surrender. Questions that open in you like flowers in the dark. There will be moments when the lines between you and the world blur, and you realize kindness is not fragile. Peace is not a holiday from pain. To be gentle takes courage, maybe the purest kind there is. That's how we begin, not by escaping the world, not by retreating, but by breathing a little softer into it. Tonight is a story of remembering the power hidden in stillness. It is for the part of you that feels joy at the sight of a bird landing nearby, or rest in the way sunlight moves across your room. If your heart's tired from trying to prove or perform, if there's a quiet inside you that wants to meet the world, not with armor, but with openness, if you want to be reminded as you drift, that presence is the only home you need, you're in the right place. Let yourself wander into the night with St. Francis. You do not have to do anything but listen. Let the story move slowly, in rhythm with your breath. Let your soul stretch out, as wide and deep as the dark sky above the Umbrian hills. This is not just his story. It's a path you can walk too. Let's begin. He was born upside down, laughter in his lungs before the world taught him to keep quiet. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt the ache of wanting more from the world, but not knowing quite what? Maybe there was a time when you looked up and the sky felt too far away, your own heart beat too loud or too restless to let you rest. Maybe the ordinary felt gray, heavy, yet there was something, a dream, a peace, a sweetness you could almost touch, if only for a moment. That's exactly what St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, once felt too. The world remembers him for his humility, for birds singing on his shoulder, for a heart so gentle even wild animals felt safe at his feet. But he was also like you, restless, searching, tender in spirit, and at times totally lost. You might not know this, but Francis wasn't always a saint. He grew up wrapped in comfort and color, the son of a wealthy merchant, his boyhood filled with laughter and longing in equal measure. He wore soft clothes, heard music in his father's house, but somehow the music never quite reached the center of him. Even as a kid, he wanted to make someone proud. Maybe his friends, maybe his family, maybe God, maybe just himself. And the constant trying, could leave him breathless, just like us. And so before Francis ever walked barefoot or spoke to the moon, he was just a young man learning how to listen, waiting for his own reflection to meet his eyes. There is something precious in that, something quietly important. Because even as the world spun forward, as time erased the edges off old stories or tried to turn people into legends, the real story began with one quiet truth: loneliness can become a doorway. So tonight, let's walk slowly beside Francis, not as saints, not as strangers, but as fellow dreamers under the same quiet sky. We'll follow his breath, remember his stumbles, feel the world soften at each step. This is a story for your spirit, for your dreams, for the part of you that feels both small and infinite at once. It's a journey that won't rush you. All you need to bring is your whole self, exactly as you are in this moment. Ready to rest, ready to listen, ready, maybe, just maybe, to let something change inside you, even if only in your sleep. Let's begin. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Have you ever felt a kind of emptiness that sits quietly behind your eyes? Maybe there was a night when you walked outside and the world was so silent you almost heard your own softness ring like a bell. Perhaps, lying awake, you've wondered what it would feel like to finally lay down every expectation and simply be. That's exactly what St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature once felt too. Let your body settle, sink a little deeper into whatever's holding you tonight, because tonight we follow the gentle arc of a life that changed the air around it. There's a reason his name is whispered in the wild, why animals seem to feel safe where his memory lingers. Not saint, not statue, not hero in shining light, but a person who began with longing. You're not alone in your questions, you know. In that tension, that ache between what you have and what your soul knows is possible, St. Francis breathed it too. He walked across stone courtyards and soft hills with pockets just as empty as yours, a heart just as restless. It changed him, but not suddenly. Like you, he learned to hear the secret language beneath the world's noise, the language where every leaf and every breath shares in stillness. I wonder if, in some part of you, there's a Francis hidden just beneath the surface, waiting quietly to come alive tonight under a sky you maybe forgot to notice. Maybe that's why you pressed play, and why my voice is reaching for you now, steady, unhurried, wanting nothing but to meet you exactly where you are. Stay with this for a bit. Let the gentle weight of your limbs become a little heavier. Like the earth itself knows how to cradle you, you're allowed to wonder. to long for something more. Let's walk together, gently, under the same stars that once called Francis outside and called his heart home. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. Tonight on the Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. You might be holding your own sort of ache right now. Maybe something about life feels loud or tangled. Maybe you long for a moment that feels gentle. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. There's something about the way the night settles in when you finally stop running. Something about the way your breath lands, the way you remember days spent not worrying so much about tomorrow. Have you ever felt that? Like your heart is ready to rest, but the world keeps spinning under your feet. Maybe there was a time when you heard the world whispering to you outside your window, something wild or patient. Or maybe you've always held questions quietly, hoping someone would show you how to let go, how to soften, how to just be. That's exactly what St. Francis once felt too, under the same sky you see tonight, with the same kind of questions whispering beneath his ribs. So, as your body finds stillness with the sheets, as the rhythm of your chest begins to slow, let's drift together, soul to soul, into the quiet story of Francis. Not saint, not legend, just a human being, feeling the raw ache of wanting more, wanting less, wanting peace. This isn't about memorizing facts or giving you one more thing to do. It's about walking a little lighter on the earth, about remembering there's goodness in the simple ways you breathe, move, and love. As the stars turn above us tonight, let's follow his footsteps and maybe find a piece of our own path lit by his gentle nature. No rush, no expectation. Let's just breathe and listen and see what lives inside this story and inside you. He came from the winding streets of Assisi, an old town where shadows stretch across stone paths and every breath carries the ancient hush of hope. His family was well known, his father a merchant, his mother someone who prayed when the dawn was quiet. But none of that mattered to Francis when he was young. What mattered was the ache that lived under his laughter, the questions that grew up with him like weeds between the cracks of his certainty. From the outside, everything seemed simple. His home was filled with color and warmth, dinners that smelled of bread and rosemary, silk and wool his father brought from faraway lands. But there were nights when Francis would slip outside, shoes in hand, just to stand beneath the lamplit sky. He looked up and wondered why his chest felt heavy with longing, even when everything around him was enough. He was curious, but not restless. There were hours when he'd sit at the edge of the fields, watching the wind comb through tall grasses, his fingers tracing unseen shapes on his knees. He listened to the world in a way that felt like prayer, before he even knew what prayer really was. Sometimes, walking the quiet alleys after dusk, he'd feel the weight of the world's expectations. Maybe you know that feeling. That sense that you should belong, should be grateful, should be happy with what's in front of you. And yet, something in your bones is hungry for something softer, something more true. Maybe you've had those moments at night when you want to believe you're not alone, even if you can't name what you're missing. Francis felt that too. He watched the moon arc over tiled roofs, listened to the gentle breath of sleeping animals, wondered if he was cold for something he couldn't describe. But he was a son, a friend, and sometimes a bit of a dreamer. There's no single moment that made him holy, no magic hour when the stars tipped their light onto his head. He just kept living day by day, caught between expectations and his own private wonder, laughing with friends in the town square, tripping through market stalls, bright eyes searching for something he couldn't find on any list or ledger. Sometimes he'd hear songs drifting from across the hills, a shepherd's tune, a bird's high call, and in those moments his longing grew. The world felt too wide, and he felt too small, except in the quiet, when the night folded around him and everything was possible. Maybe that's where all change begins, in the strange hush between laughter and longing, in the breath you hold when you wish for more. Francis grew up inside that hush, never fully able to explain it, just living with the question. Could his life mean something gentler? Could there be more than what the world counted as enough? The world would call him names later: saint, fool, mystic, radical. But tonight, let's meet him where he began. A boy beneath the stars, breath trembling, wondering if there was a different kind of freedom, wondering if the night could carry him somewhere truth touched everything. As you listen, maybe let your own longing walk beside his. Let the edges blur. Let your breath and his mingle. There's nothing to prove here, just the chance to remember something simple and good cradled inside this story. Inside you, soften your eyes. Let your jaw unclench. Settle in. Tonight, the story moves with you. And maybe, for a little while, you'll find what you've been searching for in the hush between each word. There are stories that change your mind, and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. If you're settling in now, maybe in the comfort of your room, a quiet late hour stretching out ahead of you, I invite you to let go and just listen. Let this story layer itself over your thoughts and gently fold you into its rhythm. You don't have to do anything tonight except just be present. You can breathe, let your eyes go soft, maybe even lose track of where you end and the story begins. Tonight on The Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. We're not here to remember a saint from dusty legend, but to notice the quiet warmth that lives in every person who's longed for something more than noise. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. This isn't about changing who you are or pretending at peace. It's about realizing that longing and presence are not opposites. Sometimes presence is just the space you give yourself each night to feel what you feel, to remember what you love, to wonder in the privacy of your softest sighs Am I alone in this? Have you ever felt, maybe just for a moment, that nature could heal you in ways no words ever could? Have you ever paused mid-step or mid-thought and just breathed in the smell of rain, or listened to the hidden conversation between wind and trees? Maybe there was a time, recent or from your faraway childhood, where you felt your own vulnerability, your own need to matter and to understand, and for a second, something outside you seemed to care. That's exactly what St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature once felt too. You may know his name from stained glass or quiet chapels, from stories of a man who spoke to birds or loved the land. But tonight we'll walk slower. We'll slip past the heroic tailies, the haloed portraits, and listen for the rhythm beneath them, the steady pulse of a soul who wanted what you want. He was gentle, not as an act, but as a letting go. At a time when the world pulled itself thin with ambition and battle, Francis's longing was to listen, not just to God or spirits, but to the trembling, soft world in all of us. And if you stay, if you let this story find you where you are, you might discover the hidden threads of your own gentle nature waking up inside your dreams. This isn't just the tale of a man. It's a night walk. Step by step, moment by moment, you'll feel presence as if it's your own breath returning home. So as you settle into sleep or hover in that space between waking and resting, know that this story is for you. No matter what you're carrying, no matter where you've been or where you think you're going, you belong here for this journey. Let's begin together. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world right now, wherever you are. Maybe curled under a blanket, maybe lying alone in the quiet, maybe somewhere in between. The modern mystic invites you to set everything down for just a little while. Your worries, the swirl of the day, the question marks that crowd your heart, all of it can rest here for these moments beneath the dark sky. Tonight on the Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. This isn't just about a man who lived long ago or stories told on stone and glass. This is about what lives inside, the living center of gentleness, and how it can glow softly even in the hardest night. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. If you've ever ached to feel more at home on this earth, or closer to the steady pulse of the world, tonight, in the hush between words, maybe you'll find what you have been seeking. Maybe you felt you were wandering. Maybe your heart has broken open when you heard birdsong at dawn, or when your hand brushed the soft fur of an animal, or when you watched the colors change right before the dark. Maybe there was a time when you wondered if your gentleness is too fragile, or if your longing for kindness is out of place in a world that can be loud and harsh. That's exactly what St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature once felt too. This isn't a story about perfection. It's a slow walk toward the kind of peace you can feel in your chest, the kind that seeps into the cracks of not enough and too much and settles like dew on the grass. Each word tonight is for you, not to change anything about you, but to honor what's already quietly glowing just beneath your bones. Let's wander for a while. Let's drift with St. Francis, not through time, but through presence, through open fields, through sleepy Italian hills with the sky wide above and the earth humming underneath. As you lay here, know you're invited into this story. It isn't the world's story of saints and suffering and sacrifice. It's the gentler one, where you can breathe and remember the part of you that is as precious as morning light, where enough is not about what you do, but who you are while you're here. So, as you find your quiet rhythm, maybe feeling your breath slow or your body sink just a bit deeper, come with me. Let's listen together for the softest music of the soul. Let's meet St. Francis under the stars, and let's see what gentle nature awakens inside you tonight. He was born in a place bright with future promises, Assisi, a town nestled like a cradle on an Italian hillside. Francis was not always the gentle voice that you may know him as now. He was once Giovanni, a son to a bustling cloth merchant, wrapped not only in soft linens, but in expectation. There's a quiet weight to wanting your child to be more than you were. Maybe you know that feeling, someone else's vision draped over your own shoulders, almost without you noticing. In boyhood, Francis was laughter and vibrance. He found his place in the sunlight, eager for adventure, enamored with color and music. His father's house was full of the rustle of fabric and the jangle of coins. But in the corners, Francis sometimes sat in stillness, listening as the household quieted, his eyes on the window, out toward the blue beyond town. There was a soft ache in him, small and silent, that wondered about the world outside all this comfort. He played at being a knight, dreaming of shining armor, of glorious adventure, of stories bigger than this quiet town. But inside, even then, before the world called him saint, there was a flicker of unsure longing, a sense that comfort and feasting, songs and stories, games and gold would never be enough to fill the inside spaces. He didn't know the shape of his ache, only that it wouldn't go away. When his friends sang, he sang louder, but sometimes at night he would wake with the moon shining in and feel as if everything he'd been given was only half of what he needed. His mother, gentle and loving, would sometimes sit by him, stroking his hair or humming quietly. She saw him even in his wildest moments and would say, "You have a big heart, bigger than you know. Maybe someone has seen that in you. Or perhaps, like Francis, you are still waiting to believe it." The years went by. Francis grew taller, his laugh more robust, his eyes lit with mischief. But always, always, there was that shimmer of wanting not for more gold, but for something more true. The warmth of his friends and family sometimes felt comforting, but sometimes it felt like a thick blanket that kept him from breathing in the bigger, fresher air just outside. When the town bustled, he joined in. He drank, he sang, he dreamed. But at dusk, when the fields turned golden and the wind cooled, you could find him on the edge of things. He listened to the sound of the ground, the hush of the grass, the pulse of something alive in earth and air. On nights when the moon was bright and the stars scattered, he found himself quiet, all the noise falling away. Out there, even the walls around his hut softened for a while. Francis didn't know it then, but every bit of longing, every shimmer of ache, every question about more, was the start of his real journey, the one that would take him beyond the comfort of his father's house, far from the jangle of coins and the rustle of trade. His soul was tuning itself to a different music, one you and I can still hear tonight if we get quiet enough, the music of gentle nature, of belonging to something wide and wild and open. That's the beginning. Maybe it's also your beginning. Maybe it's the same gentle ache that has brought you here tonight, listening under your own private stars. There are stories that change your mind and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. If you're here tonight, it's probably not just because you're looking for another biography. Maybe you're winding down, the world feels a bit too much, or your heart craves a bit more peace. Something inside you longs to slow down, to feel truly present, to remember what matters when the noise fades away. Tonight, on the Modern Mystic, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you. It's strange, isn't it, how certain names echo across centuries, not as faded memories, but as if they're shimmering right beneath the skin of your own life. St. Francis, the one known for animals, for gentleness, for speaking in the hush where words wouldn't dare. But tonight, we're not stepping into a church or a field or an old world painting. We're stepping into a different kind of night. One where the questions you've kept tucked in your chest might finally loosen, where even your worries rest gently for a while under the wide cathedral of stars. If you've ever longed for peace, for clarity, for purpose, their story may become your own. Just as the air shifts at dusk, or when a breeze carries laughter across a summer yard, there's a kind of shift about to happen right here, not from outside, but from the inside out. Because you don't need to be religious or wise or even sure about anything at all. Have you ever felt the world was just loud? Have you ever wished you could simply be, just for a moment, without fighting, proving, or rushing? Maybe there was a time when the wildness of nature called you, and the gentlest parts of yourself felt seen, if only for a blink. That's exactly what St. Francis under the stars, a tale of gentle nature, once felt too. He wasn't born into stillness. He didn't arrive serene, wrapped in certainty or spiritual light. No mystic biography starts there. This is a story lived through aching questions, surprising laughter, and choices that looked a little foolish at the time. If you lean in close, you'll notice even a saint can doubt, fear, wonder. Even a soul remembered for peace lived with wild, unsettled hunger. Sometimes the most luminous people were once the most restless. So I invite you just for tonight to place aside any thought that this story is too old or too far or too good for you. Instead, notice your breath. Let your eyes get heavy. Bring your own longings into the circle. The podcast, the stories, the wisdom are all here to rest with you, not to judge, not to measure, but to let you slip into a gentler way of being. Because tonight we'll see how the life of St. Francis unfolds not as a legend, but as a map you carry in your own pocket. You don't need to know where to begin. The stars are already shining overhead. The world is already softer in this dusk. All you need is to listen, to drift, to let the gentle nature in you, the part that aches for less noise and more realness, lead the way. Let's go back before he was a name, before he was a figure in stained glass, before stories gathered around him like doves on a fence post. Let's walk quietly into the night, barefoot and awake, and see what happens next. There are stories that change your mind, and stories that change your breath. This one may change how you walk through the world. You might be lying there now, settling in, the day still humming somewhere in your chest. There's a part of you that wants something soft to take you through the darkness, something gentle, honest, something real. On the modern mystic tonight, we enter the quiet brilliance of St. Francis under the stars, not as a figure in history, but as a mirror to something sacred inside you,